The love we give and receive is all that matters and all that is remembered. Suffering disappears, love remains. What a line. Yeah, what a line. Suffering disappears, love remains. As the disease advances, symptoms can include problems with language, disorientation, including easily getting lost, mood swings, loss of motivation, self neglect, and behavioral issues. As a person's condition declines, they often withdraw from family and society. Gradually, bodily functions are lost, ultimately leading to death. Although the speed of progression can vary, the average life expectancy following diagnosis is 3 to 12 years. I'm sure you've got some idea about this disease. What a beautiful piece of writing he has produced. I thank him for producing such a masterpiece. I thank.
Don't you?
All I remember, when the father spoke to me, he always began the conversation with, "Have I told you yet today how much I adore you?" Yeah, have I told you yet today how much I adore you? The expression of love was reciprocated, and in his later years, as his life began to visibly ebb, we grew even closer, if that were possible. At 82, he was ready to die, and I was ready to let him go so that his suffering would end. We laughed and cried and held hands and told each other of our love and agreed that it was time. I said, "Dad, after you've gone, I want a sign from you that you're fine." He laughed at the absurdity of that. Dad didn't believe in reincarnation. Reincarnation? What's that? Before we move forward, let's try to understand it.
Reincarnation,
Also known as rebirth or transmigration, is a philosophical or religious concept that the non-physical essence of a living being begins a new life in a different physical form or body after biological death. In most beliefs involving incarnation, the soul of a human being is immortal and does not disperse after the physical body has perished. Upon death, the soul merely becomes transmigrated into a newborn baby or an animal to continue its immortality. The term transmigration means the passing of a soul from one body to another after death. I'm sure you've got the idea. Let's go back to our today's reading. Dad didn't believe in reincarnation. I wasn't positive I did either, but I had had many experiences that convinced me I could get some signal from the other side. Yeah, from the other side. My father and I were so deeply connected, I felt his heart attack in my chest at the moment he died. Later, I mourned that the hospital, in their sterile wisdom, had not let me hold his hand as he had slipped away. Day after day, I prayed to hear from him, but nothing happened. Night after night, I asked for a dream before I fell asleep. And yet 4 long months passed, and I heard and felt nothing but grief at his loss.
mother had died 5 years before of
Alzheimer's? What's it? It's a disease. Before moving forward, let's try to understand what this disease is. Alzheimer's disease, AD, is a neurodegenerative disease that usually starts slowly and progressively worsens and is the cause of 60 to 70% of cases of dementia. Dementia? Later, inshallah. The most common early symptom is difficulty in remembering recent events. As the disease advances, symptoms can include problems with language, disorientation, including easily getting lost, mood swings, loss of motivation, self neglect, and behavioral issues. As a person's condition declines, they often withdraw from family and society. Gradually, bodily functions are lost, ultimately leading to death. Although the speed of progression can vary, the average life expectancy following diagnosis is 3 to 12 years. I'm sure you've got some idea about this disease. Let's go back to our reading.
Mother had died 5 years before.
Of Alzheimer's, and though I had grown daughters of my own, I felt like a lost child. One day, while I was lying on a massage table in a dark, quiet room waiting for my appointment, a wave of longing for my father swept over me. I began to wonder if I had been too demanding in asking for a sign from him. I noticed that my mind was in a hyperacute state. Hyperacute state? Later, inshallah. I experienced an unfamiliar clarity in which I could have added long columns of figures in my head. I checked to make sure I was awake and not dreaming. I saw that I was as far removed from a dreamy state as one could possibly be. Each thought I had was like a drop of water disturbing a still pond, and I marveled at the peacefulness of each passing moment. Then I thought, I've been trying to control the messages from the other side. I will stop that now. Suddenly, my mother's face appeared. My mother,
As she had been before,
Alzheimer's disease had stripped her of her mind.
her humanity and 50 pounds.
Her magnificent silver hair crowned her sweet face. She was so real and so close, I felt I could reach out and touch her. She looked as she had a dozen years ago, before the wasting away had begun. I even smelled the fragrance of Jai, her favorite perfume. She seemed to be waiting and did not speak. I wondered how it could happen that I was thinking of my father and my mother appeared, and I felt a little guilty that I had not asked for her as well. I said, "Oh, mother, I'm so sorry that you had to suffer with that horrible disease." She tipped her head slightly to one side, as though to acknowledge what I had said about her suffering. Then she smiled, a beautiful smile, and said very distinctly, "But all I remember is love." What a beautiful line. But all I remember is love. And she disappeared. I began to shiver in a room suddenly gone cold. Yeah, in a room suddenly gone cold. And I knew in my bones that the love we give and receive is all that matters, and all that is remembered. Suffering disappears, love remains. What a line. Yeah, what a line. Suffering disappears, love remains. Her words are the most important I have ever heard, and that moment is forever engraved on my heart. I have not yet seen or heard from a father, but I have no doubts that someday, when I least expect it, he will appear and say, "Have I told you yet today that I love you?" Yeah, think about the line, the message of our today's reading. Think about the line. Again, please. Have I told you yet today that I love you? Bobbie Probstein says, what a beautiful piece of writing he has produced. I thank him for producing such a masterpiece. I think.
Don't you?
Think about it. Thank you. See you soon. Inshallah.
ਤੁਰ ਗਏ ਯਾਰ ਦਿਲਾਂ ਦੇ ਜਾਨੀ ਵਤਨ ਨੂੰ ਚੁੱਕ ਮੁਹਾਰਾ ਉਜੜੀ ਬਸਤੀ ਯਾਰੋ ਨਜ਼ਰੀ ਆਵੇ ਕੰਡ ਕੀਤੀ ਜਦ ਯਾਰਾਂ